Hi everyone, welcome back to Between Us. I'm Dina Salema, and today I want to talk about this idea that I feel like a lot of people obsess over, and that's closure. It's like this idea of like one last conversation or one last answer or one last talk, that explanation that you need to have with someone in order to feel like you got your closure and in order for you to feel like you can move on. And I used to feel the same way too until I realized that closure isn't something that someone gives you, it's something you already have. And I feel like there's a lot of things to discuss about this specific topic. So without talking too much, just get into the video and discuss my perspective on closure and how I see it as a person who used to be so big on closure. I think closure is overrated because you're putting your healing into someone else's hands. It's like you're saying, I can't move on until you properly explain yourself. And I think the truth is, most people don't understand themselves enough, let alone understand why they hurt you. And you just sitting there blocking your own way, waiting for an explanation and answer will not allow you to grow and move on from that situation. You're just going to be sat there because some people will never give you the answer. The silence is the answer. The lack of effort, the lack of care is your closure. And that's why I think so many people get stuck on the fact that they can't move on simply because they seek closure from the person sitting there and telling them, I did this and this and this to you because of one, two, and three. It's like you're waiting there, waiting for them to come and tell you, move on. When you really, all it takes is for you to think and just be like, okay, I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve this. I already see my closure and I already see that this person isn't giving me what I need. So you get up and you leave. That is your closure. So just sitting there and waiting for clarity from confusion, that's a trap. You just put yourself in a trap and you're blocking your own way from growing and moving on. They're not blocking you. They're not blocking your way. You are in your own way of moving on and moving on to better things, moving on with yourself. One thing that changed everything for me was perspective. Instead of sitting there and asking myself, oh, what could I have possibly done for them to treat me this way or for them to do this to me or for this to happen, I started asking myself, was this even aligned for me? I believe if a person wanted to, they would to a certain extent. And in this scenario, if a person wanted to give you that explanation of why they did that to you, or if a person wanted to give you that so-called closure, they would have. So you should put yourself in that position, in their position. If you would have done that to someone, would you, if you wanted to, have given them that explanation? Because if you didn't want to, you simply wouldn't have. And that's what I always think of in situations like this. Always put yourself in the other person's position who did that to you, and think to yourself, if I didn't really care, would I really bother giving an explanation? And the likely answer is no. So why are you sitting there waiting for an explanation when the reality is that they don't care enough to give you an answer? Because when you zoom out, you realize that if that person cared, you'd feel it. If that person was confused about you, that is information on its own. You don't want to be someone's maybe. You don't want to be sitting there feeling like you're an option. You want to be someone's for sure. So that confusion and that, oh, I'm not really sure about you, that tells you enough. That tells you enough. And if you really have self-respect, you would get up and leave without sitting there and waiting for answers and conversations and one last time, because you do not need that one last time. That one last time was that silence they gave you. Another topic I want to talk about is that effort never lies. People lie, words lie, promises lie, which is normal, like it's the nature of life. But effort is clear as day. If a person shows up only when it's convenient, that tells you a lot. You don't need to beg someone to show up in your life or to be there in your life. If a person doesn't want to be in your life, there's no point in fighting for them to have their place in your life. Because what is the point in fighting for someone who doesn't even want to be involved in your circle or in your environment? Effort should never feel one sided. in any friendship or relationship, effort should be coming from both sides. And I've been in experiences with friendships where I felt like effort was very one sided, and then they'd feel so confused as to why I stopped putting in the effort. But what they don't understand is that once I realized that the energy I'm giving in is not reciprocated equally, I'm gonna stop. Because in order for any relationship or friendship to work out, it needs to be equal from both sides. And you don't have to sit there begging for someone to put in the same effort, because if they cared enough and if they really wanted to, even when they have the tiniest, slightest minute of the day, they text you or call you or make time to see you if a person genuinely wants to be around your presence. And if they don't, that's fine as well. You don't need that person. You can just move on. This is the most exciting part I wanted to talk about, and it's giving advice and letting the person do whatever they want with it. Because this part is so big in my life, because the thing is, I'm one of those people where I will come to you for advice, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I feel like that's valid, because you can give someone advice when they come and ask for it, but you shouldn't be pissed or upset when they do not take your advice, because at the end of the day, the person, even if they hear advice from 100 people, they're still gonna do what they want to do. When a friend comes to you for advice and you give them that advice, and this happens to me all the time, my friends come to me for advice and I give them the advice, and at the end they do what they want to do, and sometimes they come back and they were like, oh, you were right. But I don't sit there and I'm like, oh, I told you so. Because the thing is, a person will never realize, no matter how many times you tell them to get up and leave from a certain situation, they never will until they realize it themselves. And that's why I always believe in this saying that says, always go back to the situation until you're done. Because that used to be me. And I kept going back to the situation until I was done. And the amount of people throughout those years that would tell me, leave, move on, get it over with, blah, blah, blah. And I never listened until I wanted to do that. And that's the thing. Give advice to people, advise people, give them your wisdom or whatever. But never force them or be upset at them or be mad when they do not take this advice. Because simply, they will never get up from that chair until they feel ready to get up. I've learned that everyone just moves at their own pace. Some people need to repeat that lesson 100 times before they finally learn. So now I give my advice and then I detach myself from the outcome, because I know I've given my advice, but the result of whatever they do has nothing to do with me. I've had my piece and I've shared my part and I've played my part as to being a good friend and giving advice, but whatever they do is what they think is best for them. And you shouldn't be controlling someone's situation simply because they came and asked you for advice. Because peace comes from knowing that you played your part, not from controlling the result. So if you're listening to this and you're in a situation where you're waiting for closure, girl, get up. Get up. You don't need another conversation. You don't need another explanation. You don't need them to understand you. All you need is their actions that they played. That is enough for you to just get up and leave. Your clarity comes from their actions, not from their words. They can sit here and tell you how much they care about you and how much they love you and how much they cherish you, but their actions don't show the same. They don't show effort in seeing you. They don't show effort in texting you. They don't show effort in showing up. And that's just so black and white. It's like you're saying this, but you're doing this. So that's why I always say, always watch out for the actions and not the words, because a person can say all they want to say because words are easy to say, but actions are really what matters. Sometimes moving on quietly is the loudest thing you'll ever do. So guys, this is it for today's video, and I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.